The Innovation Theater at CSEMP Edge 24 is sponsored by Gaines. Move forward faster.
I'm Maria Marti, CEO and founder of ZeroError. So what's ZeroError? It's an enterprise artificial intelligence platform for data quality and analytics. We have many use cases, especially because how many of you have problems with master data? Do you trust the output of your MRP? Or what about sustainability and carbon footprint reporting, right? So, look, when I created this company, it's because this is solving the problems that I had as an executive in Fortune 100 companies in the US, but this tool didn't exist. This is why we created. And the beauty of this is that our customers are getting results in no time. Like, in less than 3 months, you start seeing tangible results. But today, you're not going to hear from me. You're going to hear from Oscar Diaz. He's the Senior Director, Supply Chain Planning for Americas at Campari, and he's going to tell you about his experience. So, welcome, Oscar, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Do you hear me, guys? Do you hear me? Great, thanks. First of all, thanks for coming to this session. This morning I was actually at 11, there was a session of AI, Gen AI for procurement, and there was a sentence which basically caught my attention. It was about, in order to GI to work for procurement, you need data quality. And I think that basically links that session with this session, because I'm going to show you how we were turning a problem in Campari, in one of our operations for the material requirements planning, into solution by leveraging AI capabilities. We all, as leaders in supply chain, we rely on systems. We have many systems, interfaces between them. We also rely into our teams, right, to do the right processes, and also as well as master data, right? So all in all, things can happen, but most importantly is that we as leaders, we use data to drive decisions. More than ever, data drive what we need to do, right? However, what happens if there is wrong data in your systems? Somebody of you had the situation where there was wrong data leading to wrong decisions in this audience? You want to share?
So as a provider, we consume lots of data from WMS, ERP, and we need people's standards. We ultimately build a solution that's based on everybody's standards that they have in their warehouse. Mm-hmm. You better believe the people's standards and the data they have around that in their existing systems are 50% good at best. And so it's a constant evergreen challenge for us.
Correct. Good. Actually, what I'm going to share today is a very specific situation that I found out when I took over one of the operations of Campari, actually beginning of last year. So as a matter of background, there was a perfect storm at that point in time. We had an amount of excess inventory of materials, right? Looking backwards at the root cause of the problem was, we implemented the new SAP version, S4HANA from SAP ECC. We had a weak organization, people coming in, coming out. Likewise, a very inconsistent master data management. All in all, we had zero reliability into our MRP output, because it was leading into an over or under purchasing of our critical materials with a financial impact, right? From one side, we had an excess of inventory, which was damaging our P&L, driven by warehousing costs, demurrage costs, but also write-off and obsolescence costs. But on the other side, we were also impacting the top line, because we were lacking materials at the same time just to be able to produce and to fulfill orders to the customers. So all in all, there was a perfect storm, right? So when it comes to the type of errors that we find out, and actually from the very beginning, we put the standard traditional action plan, right? First of all, people makes a difference. So we revamped the organization. We brought some of the planners to New York just to get better planners, better talent in the organization. We also look at all our processes, systems, MLP, and we basically tackled some of those processes. However, over time, it was still errors coming. So even though the traditional effort was put in place, we were not getting the results, right? And at the end of the day, me as a leader, I was also very frustrated. that's where my challenge was, what can I do? So one option would have been, I'm going to put an army of planners, best in class. I kind of make even a guesstimate on what would it mean, and it was like 4 times more planners that was allocated to that facility. So it was impossible. On a personal note with Maria, we got connected, very randomly, right? And it came across this opportunity to leverage AI, right? And what this tool does is actually taking your data, right? Taking your MRP output. We were sharing our MRP output, so our files, our master data, and they were able to use this data without even talking to us and just going through the engine that is basically based and designed to capture potential errors in any data set, right? So after, I think it was a couple of weeks, 3 weeks time, and again, without bias and without any criteria from our side as to, those are the type of errors we usually find out, that's the kind of criteria, the range of error types. They were coming to us with a proposal of, look, this data set has some certain level of errors, right? So actually we got, from an SKU count standpoint, we got 1/3 of the SKUs with potential errors, right? It doesn't mean that those will be errors. However, there was something wrong based on the data and based on the analytics, right? So that was also really a quick win, because with my traditional approach, my mindset would have been, I want my planners going to all the SKUs. So with this approach, we were able to reduce to 1/3 the amount of time for my planners to go over the data. So that was one of the first quick wins. So how it worked out is, this data has to be shown in a way that the planners, right, are able to digest it, right? So I want to see, for example, when the system is seeing they're going to be over the stock, when they're going to be over purchasing, under purchasing, when my sourcing strategy will be right, wrong. So, when is a lot of demand intermittency, demand volatility. So I just want to see the errors in a way that is telling to me what are the problems, right? So we kind of got together and customized how we want to look at the error types in a way that the planners are able to understand and work upon. So the action plan was actually my team going over with all of those SKUs one by one and understanding what was wrong. They knew that the system was saying that is the error type, and they went to the system, into the MRP, and they check it out, and they confirm almost all of them, right? When you look at the root cause of the problem, most of them was about the MRP system. As I said before, we implemented S/4HANA with a kind of a lift and shift implementation, but it was some errors on the codification, but also on the flow, and also the master data and bill of materials. The second root cause of the problem was about one-fourth was about the user itself. So as I said before, I think you said it nicely before, at the end of the day, they are human beings doing actions in the system, right? In a situation where there's no maybe center of excellence or process adherence KPIs or strict controls on the KPIs, those things can happen. So as a result, we were capturing that some of the users didn't have the right process adherence into the processes. Last but not least is a portion of the root causes which was driven by errors. So we knew that we were over the stock, under stock, but there was nothing we could do. But those were basically unavoidable errors, but at least we knew them. On the impact side, financially speaking, we got a situation where we had financial impacts into our P&L. However, when you look at the SKUs, we had 50% roughly of the SKUs on out of stock, but on the other side, excess inventory, which was kind of a dichotomy as to the problems that we got. So that's where the zero error tool ended up. So we confirmed the errors. We also got a nice visibility as to how often those errors were happening and actually in which data set points. That really helped us to do a proper action planning. We got together, we also, as you can imagine, the axis of value and work to get there, and then we put attention on the quick wins and then moving along into the long-hanging fruits. Here you can see some of the actions that were driven by the zero error callout, and actually most of them are related to master data governance, master data controls, audits, and actually with the tool on a frequently basis, running it all over and again, you are seeing the quality of your data set. You get a number, you get a quality index, and that's where you need to see that it's improving along the way. So it's not a one-time shop effect, but it's a sequence of runs that you are getting better and better, and to the point in time that your data is accurate. Hence, you can release those controls. I would like to also mention one of them, which is about the sourcing strategy, which was one of the last catches where we were seeing that for some of the materials we had high volatility, low intermittency, right? And our procurement strategy was not in line with the strategy. So we had to move from quantity contracts to on-spot POs. So, and that also drive a different type of conversations with procurement to have, let's say, a more responsive and more reliable, financial impact into our material supply. All in all, along that time, so we got a peak, I think it was in February this year, we got a peak of, I think it was 34,000 pallets of material goods, dry goods in Jamaica. And then the last count that we did on the inventory, we were able to drop 32% of that inventory. Moreover, we brought back reliability, and also confidence was recovered from our senior leaders. Looking back at the lessons learned, I think for me the most important lessons learned is that when you are in this critical situation where your data is not reliable, right, and you use a traditional approach as to problem solving, it's gonna take more resources and more time to get it, understand what are your problems and how to get there and how to solve it. I think for me that's the key essential of the zero error, where it's rather fast. In 1 month time, 1 month and a half time, you really know where your problems are, and that is driving root cause analysis. So going back to one by one, so the first point is about the early detection of the error. So beforehand, we were just placing wrong POs, and then we saw the problems when it were hitting the warehouse. With the zero error, we are able to identify those errors because before making any purchasing decision, we use the system to check our MRP output, right? So it means that we are able to capture the errors before actioning upon and provoking financial impacts into our P&L. The second point is about AI. It's faster, it drives productivity. As I said before, if I would like to do this type of analysis, I may need tons of people and tons of time and money, which is not efficient, not effective either, right? The third point is mostly about, in a very volatile environment where your demand is very volatile, the supply is very unreliable, it's important that those systems are able to go backwards and forward-looking as to see how your parameters, especially your master data, is basically making sense or not, and identifying which one should be adjusted and managed. Last but not least is also when it comes to procurement, right? Because all of those changes are impacting procurement and logistics from a positive and negative side. So we got a lot of data-driven analysis that drove the right discussions with procurement as to changing the procurement strategy, right? Especially on the sourcing side of things, okay? So all in all, we're still now working on the second pilot. We're expanding with other facilities and also adding more data sets as expiration date, management, and so on and so forth, okay? So with that being said, I will leave the stage to any questions you might have.
So in terms of AI analytics, when you say, how is it advantageous over the existing data processing capabilities, like some of the tools that have, like, for example, if I use a tool like Python, you have, like very well-defined libraries that are capable of, like performing enhanced data processing, data validation. So all those are integrated into this, or how is this advantageous over, like those tools?
I can take that. So the beauty of zero error is that it's going to tell you what is wrong with the data. Many customers are using us, for example, when they are building their data catalogs, they don't know where to get started, right? Or if they have visualization tools, right, BIs, what's the problem? Garbage in, garbage out. So you put zero error, very quickly it's going to tell you what your problem is. So if you're already having, like many people are integrating it with different tools, so it's not one or the other. I always say that we are not competing with SAP. We are not competing with MSPs. You need those. we are kind of the layer on top that if you are the one making the decision, you want to know what the problem is. Because at the end of the day, when you report, when you make the decisions, is your credibility on the line. So this is the tool for the executives. And the beauty is that we are partners with Microsoft and with Snowflake. So we have the option, or at least this is how we start with our customers, to basically put the data in the cloud. So in question of like less than 3 months, you can start getting the results. So I always say, let's date before getting married, right? Let's talk about system integrations later. Give us a CSV with the MRP data. We are going to look at that. If you are happy, then let's talk about integration. Don't worry. That's the easy part. The most important is that when you go, you show real results and a business case, don't worry. The funds are going to come for you.
And this may be a question more for you than the zero error. So I see that you're using the AI to identify things that might be wrong, right? And things that are going well as well, right? Step 4 on your corrective actions, or that one, corrective action plans. What are you doing with AI, if anything, to identify the root cause or to create the corrective action? Or are you still using traditional supply chain engineering for that?
I think it's a really good question. The tool is not capable to show you what is the root cause of the problem, right? Because this is a tool that is unbiased to the data sets that you are analyzing, right? But I think what I was trying to bring across, the point across here is mostly about that it basically put the relevance of this error into your analysis of root cause, right? For example, in my case, I was able to understand that my main issue was the financial impact on the excess of inventory due to MOQs changing over time or bill of materials. So, but it's not a technology that is enabling like directly root cause analysis. So you need to really go over. But what I think my experience was with, especially with procurement, where you need to consistently now manage your MOQs because the demand is very volatile. That's where you have data to back it up. That's needed because it has an impact, right?
So of the stuff that was identified, like obviously managers have hunches. They think, of the stuff that was identified, like what percent was, wow, I didn't even know about this, and what percent was, I thought about this, and one of this was like, well, yeah, we already knew.
Yeah, good question actually. That has been changing along the time. I will say that at first, because the organization was evolving, we were getting new people, 80% of the errors were unknown. As of now, we are doing now the second pilot. We are having a higher quality of the data. However, last week, just to mention a couple of examples, we captured a couple of errors on the bill of material, so that we were about to order 6 times more because of a wrong bill of material setup. So that was catching my team still on today. I'm not able to give you a precise number because we are basically going through the second pilot. But still, I see surprises from my team still.
So using this software or using this AI system, how have you seen it affect like safety stock and things like that in industry?
Yeah, you mean on the, so what we are actually doing on safety stock management, especially MOQs, rounding values, actually what we are doing is, as far as the demand is very volatile, we are leveraging on backward and forward looking. So in a way, we are always, the future is always much better than the past. So what we have done recently, actually, just to support this strategy, is to always go backwards. And when you go backwards, you see your real movements and you see your real inventory position. So we are using kind of a backward, forward-looking information just to, just to signal where we might be off on the safety stock. However, this is not a safety stock tool. It is not, but it's alerting with more data sets as to what is your likelihood based on the past and the future and different variables as for you to be off track on your safety stock, MOQs, rounding values.
And the beauty is that it's not one size fits all, because we have the technology and we're implementing it to MRP, we are implementing it to ESG, sustainability, but also we are working with pharmaceutical companies for the quality control process. So in your case, you have a problem to set up the right safety stock. this is where we can adjust it to your problems, because it's not what I like. Look, I am allergic to put business rules, because in the past, when people were asking me, you are the owner of the report, give me a range of this value. I don't know. And not only that, it's going to get obsolete in a year from now. So the beauty is that when we put, like, for example, or a safety stock, we put a range, it's going to be based on, like, what other information is here. Like, of course, that in one case you're going to tell me, look, in a pharmaceutical company, there is like one process that needs to be a number, right? That's it. But except those cases, you want this to be adjusting it based on how your product is growing or is declining. Okay,
Yeah.
so stop by booth 350 if you want to know more about Zero Error. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.